So I've been asked a few times how to remove the shift rod on the 70's models, Evinrudes and Johnsons. So I happen to have two Evinrudes. One is a 76. The one on the left is a 1976. The one on the right is a 1978. They're both 115 V4 Evinrudes, but I have seen the same shift rod linkage set up on the three-cylinder models as well, like the 65, 60s, and 70s. So I'm going to show you how to disconnect it. I've actually got two different types here, so you couldn't counter either one, and I'll show you the differences. And for me, I'm not saying this is the absolute best way to do it. This is just how I do it, and this is where it's at. So if you can think of a better way to do it, have at it, but this is how I do it. All right, so first up, this is the 1978 Evinrude. This one has a bolt that will connect slash disconnect the shift rod that runs down to the lower unit. And I guess that's so. Why is this important? Anytime you want to drop the lower unit on these things, so if you're doing impeller work, you need to reseal your lower unit, you're going to have to drop that lower unit. In order to do that, you have to disconnect this shift rod. So for this one, this particular type, this is the right side of the motor, and it's right under the power head. So we'll get a little bit closer in and I'll show you. All right, so we're looking at the bottom of the power head, below where the carburetors are and the reed valves. It's behind all the throttle and shift linkages. If you can see right there. So that little bolt is what connects the shift rod to all these linkages up top. So you have to disconnect that before you can drop the lower unit. You can either use a flathead screwdriver or a 3/8 socket, which is what I generally use to pull the thing out. So what I'll do first, I'll take a really long wobble head extension with a 3/8 socket to break it free. Let me grab my ratchet real quick. All right, so I got it loose. What we got here is little one of these magnets on an extension. Boom. So that's what it takes to get it out. Unfortunately, getting it out is the easy part. So you're at this point, you're free to drop your lower unit, do whatever you needed to do to it, and then you're gonna have to put it back in, and that's actually the more difficult part. Right now, I don't need to drop mine. I don't feel like taking all the other bolts out of the lower unit and then putting them back in. But the problem is, like for me right now, everything is lined up. So I should be able to slide this bolt back in pretty easily because everything's lined up. The problem is when you drop your lower unit, then put it back in, everything is not going to be directly lined up. So you need to get that realigned. So here are the tools that I normally use. It's a ratchet, wobble head extension, 3/8 socket, extendo magneto thing, a flathead screwdriver. I don't use it as a screwdriver. I use it to pry, wedge, move, and align the shift rod with the holes up there. And also this little pick sometimes comes in handy. It gives you, you're able to actually grab hold to the rod or the linkage and kind of move it forcefully. All right, so if you may, sometimes it's not all about moving the shift rod itself. If you play with the controls, you can kind of shift it into reverse or forward to move the linkage, the hole that you're trying to get the bolt into, forward and backwards. All right, so once you get it lined up, the gist is I use this magneto extendo to put the bolt back in the hole. Careful when you're taking the magnet off, or else you'll just pull the bolt right back out. I'll take my extension and socket. All right. Snug it up just a little bit. Don't have to be crazy with it. Snug it up enough so they won't vibrate out though. And that's it. I know that seemed easy, but like I said, keep in mind I did not drop the lower unit, so I didn't have to realign the shift rod before I did it. And that's the gist of it. Sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's not. I generally crack a beer after I do this. All right, I'll also show you the other kind of shift rod that you might encounter. So this shift rod is from the 1976 motor. You can see the difference in this one. This has this, I don't know, this fitting at the top. And the way this one is designed, instead of having a bolt that goes through here, it's just a pin that goes through this hole. If you remember, the other one just had a curved rod tip. It was all one piece, but the top was curved and had the bolt that goes through. Like I said, this one has a pin instead. So we'll show you how, this one should be considerably easier than the other style, but I'll show you how that's done also. All right, so this is the 76 motor. The shift rod comes in the same spot as it does on the other one. It just comes into a different style of linkage. So this linkage right here is what takes your input from your controls, sends it down to the shift rod, and shifts the lower unit. So this shift rod was seated in this pin. This pin was going through that hole that was at the top of the shift rod. And what I did in order to remove the shift rod, or in order to disconnect the shift rod, was loosen up this bolt here. So you loosen this bolt up enough to be able to get anything in here. I just use a screwdriver to pry it loose a little bit, and the shift rod will slide free. So in order to put the shift rod back in, we obviously just do it in reverse. So since this one is off and I need to put it back on, I will show you the process of lining everything up, even though this one's a lot easier than the other one. All right, so we've got the lower unit is reattached, and the shift rod is almost in position. All we have to do is rotate the head of the shift rod so that we can get the pin through it. Right now, the hole is like this. We need it to be like that. So I'm going to attempt to do this with a screwdriver for now. Almost there. Cool. That should do it. Bet. So now I've got it readjusted. It's lined up. All I've got to do is pop the head of the shift rod into where I can get the pin through the hole. There we go. Sometimes it helps to have an extra hand. All right, so we've got the pin back in. Now all I've got to do is retighten that bolt that we loosened up that was right here, and it's good to go.